life is very fragile. So when you stop focusing on the material, things will and are guaranteed to fall apart because of all of the life force energy that you were putting into sustaining it is gone. You've learned how to redirect your life force energy towards yourself. So that's different. When you redirect your life force energy towards yourself and your inner being, the material world will dissolve. Hi beautiful souls, welcome back to the channel, Soul Awakening with Shantia. Today we're going to be talking about the game of karma and perception of reality. So I've created a previous video on my other channel called Unlocking Karma. I'm going to go ahead and link it down below for you guys. If you're interested in diving deeper into understanding karma, today we're just going to go over it briefly, and we're going to focus mostly on the game, learning how to master the game or learning how to work with it. And we're focusing on the perception of reality. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out my previous episodes, as well as the Saturn and Pisces part 2 that I just put out. I went into detail about the Saturn and Pisces transit that we're going through, and I essentially did a visual essay talking about the shift, the whole experience of us Saturn going through all of Pisces, what that experience is going to look like for us. And I use fictional stories that capture all of the archetypal experience and the motifs that we can relate to in our own life and what Saturn and Pisces is calling for us to embrace. So the game of karma, let's go ahead and dive into talking about this. So karma often feels like a punishment, right? It feels like life is very challenging. Life is meant to be challenging. We're meant to face obstacles. We are meant to go through trials where we learn how to become strong. So without what we're feeling is a punishment, we wouldn't learn anything. So karma isn't punishment, it's just offering you the opportunity for you to learn some lessons and to gain some experiential wisdom. The game of karma is there to teach you to evolve your perception. So in my states of consciousness video that I created on my other channel, I'll also link that down below. I talk about states of consciousness from 1 to 7. And from 1 to 3, or 1 through 4. 1 through 3, that's all about the survival in the physical world and following your dreams and doing things that you want in this reality. Level 4 is about you breaking free of the status quo. Level 5 is about you becoming a receiver. Level 6 is about you becoming Messiah's pupil. And essentially that's when people start co-creating their reality or mastering their reality or manifesting what they want. And then level 7 is where you're called to surrender. And then it keeps going. You're always asked to continuously evolve into higher states of consciousness and to sustain it, to master it. And it takes a lot of work to do that. I think one of the tricky things that comes with becoming psychic, which I'll dive into this in one video, for sure, this is a future video idea that I've been thinking about, is that once you become psychic or intuitive, the thing that you're called to do is you're actually called to let go of this physical reality. So it's actually quite challenging once you step into that higher level. Most people who are consumed with material experiences are stuck in level 1 through 3. And then those who break away from their job, for example, are usually stepping into 4. But there's so many levels after that. Once you understand that there's a spiritual essence around us 24/7, that absolutely changes the game for the rest of your life. And it's going to call for you to do work as I was called to. My awakening intensified, everything intensified, and I was asked to do more work on myself and take accountability. The other thing to know about the game of karma is that the ego is very actively running our life. And the ego is predictable and it runs on a script. So the game of karma is trying to teach you, as you're facing these obstacles repetitively, is to not let the ego control you. So your ego is keeping you in states of consciousness 1 through 6. 7, the ego can't. It has to ride in the back seat. The ego cannot drive your life. At level of consciousness 7. So at level 1 through 6, your ego is running on a script and it's very predictable. Do you find yourself having those very predictable conversations with people who, let's say you have your adversary, your challenge, and then there's you, and they're telling you you can't do this, no way, because they're just speaking fear and they're speaking limiting beliefs. That's because their ego is running their script, whereas universe is calling for you to become self-aware OI, self-aware intelligence, higher intelligence, intuitive, organic intelligence that does not run on the egoic script. And the reason why the ego can't survive it can't thrive, it cannot run the show from level 7 of consciousness, is because at that point, it can't direct the script, because there's no reason past level 7 of consciousness. Things just sort of randomly come into your life that don't make any sense. From level 1 through 6, you're taught, well, this is how you make money, this is what you do. And then level 7, you're breaking all the rules. And people don't understand, how are you getting by in life? And that's because you're not running on your egoic script. So you're breaking through into higher states of consciousness, and you're breaking into a new reality experience. Once your perception changes, the game of karma changes. Once your perception changes, the game of karma changes, and your actions change. So how do you start living? Why are people quitting their jobs? Because they became aware that there's something missing here. This material world is not it. That's why people quit their jobs. That's why people stop making money. To a reasonable person, that doesn't make any sense. But again, we're not reasonable creatures. And there are so many times where I felt confused, because I was like, reasonably, logically, this doesn't make any sense. But I just continue to follow my guides, and they always tell me, you're here to prioritize yourself. You're here to prioritize your well-being, not your ego self that wants things. It wants desires. So at that point of that 7th level of consciousness, you're being called to surrender your desire. So this all depends on where you're at in your journey and what you feel called to. You might feel called to more of a materialistic lifestyle. I thought that was going to be my life for the longest time. I actually couldn't believe that the universe would dare to ask me to evolve even further and to say, let go of materialism, because I thought I was working towards that for all of my life. And I had my whole world fall apart, and realizing that very thing that I had been working towards all my life was not what I was here for. That's not why I exist. So you surrender your desires. And in my God Has No Favorite 2 Paths of Desire video, I talk about how there's 2 paths in life. You can go more towards the materialistic pathway, or you're called to the sage life, where you're called to surrender your desires. So you surrender your desires, and they may or may not be met, depending. You're no longer trying to think or trying to force reality to be what it is. So sometimes you might wonder, why does life fall apart? With the game of karma, the reason why your house of cards fall apart is because we put a lot of our life force energy into keeping that house of cards up. Life is very fragile. So when you stop focusing on the material, things will and are guaranteed to fall apart, because of all of the life force energy that you were putting into sustaining it is gone. You've learned how to redirect your life force energy towards yourself. So that's different. When you redirect your life force energy towards yourself and your inner being, the material world will dissolve. All of the material things that you liked, it will sort of be out of your control, and certain things will come in and certain things will not. And this is something that you're being called to give up. The game of karma is calling for you to keep going. It's calling for you to keep evolving into higher and higher states of consciousness. That, again, is free of materialism. Levels 1 through 6 consciousness are about materialism. Level 7 beyond is not. You've detached yourself from this material experience, in the sense that whatever comes in, comes in. You know how someone's really evolved, when they're not obsessed about their appearance. Like, those people are very high level. They're not obsessed about their appearance. They're like somewhere else, and they're teaching us how detachment works. Now, depending on your spiritual journey, you might be called to evolve in a different ways. Depending on your journey, you may be called to a life of some materialism. So that all depends on where your heart is calling you. But the whole point is just to free you of your attachment to it, because it's the attachment, it's the craving that's causing misery for us. So you're not here to outsmart karma. You're not here to stop or control it, because you directing your life force energy there is actually causing you more stress and exhaustion in your life. So when you stop trying to control the house of cards, you stop trying to control your external circumstances and trying to make this reality to be what you want and try to fix it, then things are going to fall away and they're going to dissolve, and you're going to see that they can't hurt you. And so what we often do is we try to hold up relationships, we try to hold up a job, we try to hold up circumstances that are not feeding our soul, they're not feeding our spirit, they're not helping us to feel fulfilled or thrive, because they were actually just things that society taught us that we needed, that we are attached to. But now that we've detached ourselves from the societal expectations, we are now free to enjoy our life force energy, to be more present. But at first, it may feel like a sacrifice. So don't try to control the game. Don't try to control reality. Transcend it. Truly mastering reality is not about manifesting what you want. It's about mastering your response and your reaction to life experiences so that you're no longer upset when things don't happen the way that you want it to. You find peace. And what a lot of people are doing is they're on the hamster wheel of trying to fix and make their external circumstances what they want so that they can feel this internal peace. But they're going to have to keep fixing things, going on vacation, self-medicating, escaping through movies, TV, social media, any form of escapism to not feel. And people are terrified to feel the pain. They're terrified to feel the disappointment. They're terrified to experience some sort of disillusion. But all of that, experiencing it, facing it, is going to actually free you, because you're going to realize that it can't kill you. It's just not all that pleasant to face and to deal with. It can be scary at times. If there is anything I can guarantee you, it's that you will experience pain throughout your entire life. It doesn't matter if you're awakened, you are a master, you are a guru, you are the sage. You are guaranteed to experience pain for the rest of your life. But the awakening part is the training ground for you to understand, how do I respond to this pain? How do I respond to pain? Or what even is at the root of this pain? What's causing this pain? And often we'll find that we are causing our own pain. We are doing it. And that's hard sometimes, because you might feel resentful and be like, well, why can't you just give me what I want right now, universe? And the universe is going to tell you, you don't need it. That's the point. You don't need it to be happy. You don't need it to feel good. And that is liberating. Shifting your perception will help you to tune into the eternal peace and rest. The universe is telling you to go on vacation, rest. Don't ever stress out. Don't stress about another thing ever in your life, because now you know that it doesn't matter if things happen the way you want or don't want. You have all the tools as the magician in you to thrive through all experiences. That's the gift that the universe is truly offering to all of us. Now you have the ability to alchemize everything. Now you can walk through life so much more empowered. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of the podcast. I will see you guys next time for another episode. Have a beautiful day or evening. Bye.